The morning sun shone bright over Denver, Colorado. Lisa Grant stood at the podium in front of the new community center. She smiled as she looked at the crowd of people. Men, women, and children had come to see the opening ceremony. Cars moved slowly down the street. People walked on sidewalks carrying coffee cups and newspapers. "Today marks a new beginning for our city," Lisa said into the microphone. The crowd clapped. She was proud to be mayor of such a wonderful place. Denver had grown into a beautiful city with tall buildings and green parks. Nearly 700,000 people called it home. Jake Morrison sat in his National Guard office 20 miles away. He was looking at radar screens when something strange appeared. At first, he thought it was a mistake. The screen showed large objects moving down from space. They were huge, bigger than any airplane he had ever seen. "Sir, you need to see this," called out his assistant, Private Kelly Davis. She pointed at her screen. More objects appeared. They were shaped like giant triangles and moved without making any sound. Jake grabbed his radio. "This is Captain Morrison. We have unidentified aircraft over Denver. I repeat, unknown aircraft over the city." The crowd at the community center suddenly looked up. A shadow fell over them. Lisa stopped talking and stared at the sky. A massive ship hung in the air above the city. It was dark gray and covered the sun like a cloud. More ships appeared around it. They were silent and still. People in the crowd began to panic. Some screamed. Others ran toward their cars. Parents grabbed their children and looked for places to hide. But there was nowhere to go. The ship surrounded the entire city. Dr. Amy Richardson was in her lab at the university when her equipment started making loud beeping sounds. She studied signals from space for a living. She had always hoped to find proof that aliens existed. Now her machines were picking up strange transmissions from directly above Earth. "This can't be real," she whispered to herself. The signals were unlike anything humans had ever made. They were complex and organized. These were communications between intelligent beings, and they were coming from the ships over Denver. High above the city, Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his ship. He was tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. His species, the Zephyrians, had been traveling through space for thousands of years. They had built an empire that controlled many worlds across the galaxy. "Begin the harvest," Vextar commanded. His voice was cold and emotionless. To him, this was just another day of work. The humans below were nothing special. They were just another primitive species to be collected. Blue beams of light shot down from the ships. When the light touched buildings, they began to glow. The light was warm but strange. People who were caught in the beams felt sleepy and confused. They could not run or hide anymore. Lisa Grant tried to keep people calm, but the blue light was everywhere. "Everyone stay together," she called out. But her voice sounded far away even to herself. The world around her began to spin and blur. Jake Morrison watched from his office as the entire city of Denver began to rise into the air. Buildings, streets, cars, and people all lifted up slowly toward the alien ships. It was impossible, but it was happening right in front of his eyes. "Get me the Pentagon," he shouted. "Get me everyone, the whole city is being taken." The blue light made everything float upward like it weighed nothing. 700,000 people rose into the sky along with their homes, schools, and workplaces. Children cried for their parents. Adults looked around in shock and fear. No one understood what was happening to them. Inside the alien ship, Zephyrian workers prepared holding areas for their new specimens. They had done this many times before, on many different worlds. They would study the humans, use some for work, and keep others for experiments. It was efficient and simple. The harvest took only 3 hours. When it was finished, there was nothing left where Denver had been except empty ground and broken roads that led to nowhere. The alien ships rose higher into the sky and disappeared into space. Jake Morrison stared at the empty space where a major city had existed that morning. He could not believe his eyes. 700,000 people had just vanished along with everything they had built. His hand shook as he reached for his phone to report what he had seen. Dr. Amy Richardson recorded everything her equipment had detected. The alien signals were clear proof that Earth was not alone in the universe. But this was not the peaceful first contact that scientists had always hoped for. These aliens had taken an entire city full of people. News reports began within hours. Television stations around the world showed the empty ground where Denver had been. World leaders held emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert. But everyone asked the same question. What could Earth do against beings who could make entire cities disappear? The Zephyrians had made one mistake. They thought humans were weak and helpless like all the other species they had harvested before. They did not know that taking Denver would wake up something dangerous in humanity. They did not know that humans were different from every other species in the galaxy. They did not know that humans never forgave and never forgot. The world changed forever after Denver disappeared. President Susan Moore sat in the White House Situation Room with leaders from every major country. The room was full of worry and fear. Everyone knew that if aliens could take one city, they could take any city. We need to work together, President Moore said to the video screen showing world leaders. This is not about countries anymore. This is about our entire species. General Marcus Cole was chosen to lead Earth's defense. He was a tough soldier who had fought in many wars, but he had never faced anything like this before. In his new office, he looked at maps of the world and tried to figure out how to protect 7 billion people from enemies who could travel between stars. We need to learn everything we can about these aliens, Marcus told his staff. Find me every piece of their technology that fell to Earth. Dr. Kevin Yang worked day and night in a secret laboratory. He was one of the smartest engineers on the planet. His team studied small pieces of alien metal that had broken off during the harvest. The metal was stronger than anything humans had ever made. It could bend without breaking and conduct electricity in ways that seemed impossible. Look at this, Kevin said to his partner, Dr. Carla White. He showed her how the alien metal could change shape when electricity passed through it. If we can figure out how this works, we might be able to build weapons. Carla was an expert in materials science. She had spent her whole career studying how to make things stronger and lighter. The alien technology was far beyond anything she had ever seen, but she was determined to understand it. It's like they figured out how to make matter obey different rules, she told Kevin. But rules can be learned, and if they can be learned, they can be used. Meanwhile, far above Earth, the captured people of Denver were trapped inside the alien ship. The holding areas were like giant prisons with walls that glowed with soft blue light. Helen Brooks, a nurse who had been working at Denver General Hospital, tried to help people who were scared and confused. We have to stay strong, Helen told a group of children who were crying for their parents. We'll find a way home. The aliens had separated families and put people in different areas of the ship. They gave the humans food that tasted like nothing and water that was clean but strange. Guards with gray skin and black eyes watched them through transparent walls. Tony Adams had been the police chief of Denver. Even as a prisoner, he felt responsible for protecting his people. He walked through the holding areas and talked quietly to other prisoners. He learned that the ship was huge, with thousands of rooms and corridors. We need to organize, Tony whispered to a small group of trusted people. We need to learn the layout of the ship and find its weak points. Among the prisoners was Alex Turner, a Marine sergeant who had been visiting his sister in Denver. Alex had fought in wars and knew how to survive in dangerous situations. He began teaching other prisoners how to fight with their hands and how to make weapons from everyday objects. These aliens think we're helpless, Alex told his students. Let's prove them wrong. Back on Earth, Dr. Amy Richardson worked with intelligence agencies around the world. She had recorded hours of alien communications during the harvest. The messages were in a language that no human had ever heard before, but patterns were starting to emerge. They're not just random signals, Amy explained to a room full of government officials. There's structure here. Grammar. Meaning. I think I can start to decode their language. Countries that had been enemies for decades suddenly became allies. The United Nations building in New York became the center of a new world government focused on one goal, getting Denver back and making sure this never happened again. Military bases around the world began building new kinds of weapons. Scientists shared information freely instead of keeping secrets. The best minds from every nation worked together on projects that would have been impossible just months before. Carlos Mendez, the UN Secretary General, coordinated efforts between countries. He had spent his career trying to bring peace to the world. Now he had to prepare for a war unlike any in human history. "We have advantages they don't know about," Carlos told the assembled leaders. "We're adaptable, we're creative, and we never give up." In China, scientists worked on rocket technology that could reach space faster than ever before. In Russia, engineers designed new types of nuclear reactors that could power spaceships. In Japan, computer experts created artificial intelligence, systems that could think faster than any human brain. The captured people in the alien ship began to organize themselves into a resistance movement. Maya Johnson was only 17 years old, but she was brilliant with computers. She discovered that the alien ship systems used a kind of technology that was similar to human computer networks. "I can't understand their language," Maya told Tony Adams. "But I can understand their code, and code is code no matter who writes it." Working late at night when the alien guards were fewer, Maya found ways to access the ship's communication systems. She sent brief messages back to Earth that contained valuable information about the alien technology and their plans. Earth's military leaders received Maya's messages and realized they had allies inside the enemy ship. General Marcus Cole began, planning rescue missions that seemed impossible. But humans had always specialized in doing impossible things. Around the world, factories that had made cars and computers began making weapons and spacecraft instead. Millions of people volunteered to join the military. Everyone wanted to help bring Denver home and protect Earth from future attacks. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought taking one city would be easy and safe. They thought humans would be too scared to fight back. They were wrong. Humans had built their entire civilization by overcoming obstacles that seemed impossible. They had survived ice ages, diseases, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed other species. Now, they faced their greatest challenge ever, but they were ready to fight, and they were going to win. 6 months had passed since Denver disappeared. Earth looked very different now. Every major city had missile defense systems pointing toward the sky. Factories worked around the clock building weapons and spaceships. The planet had become a fortress. Colonel Nick Ryan stood in a top-secret facility in Nevada. Around him, engineers and scientists worked on humanity's first real spaceship designed for war. They called it the UES Vengeance. It was built using alien technology that Dr. Kevin Yang and Dr. Carla White had finally figured out how to copy. The hull plating can absorb energy weapons, Nick explained to General Marcus Cole during a visit, and our new engines can reach speeds we never thought possible. The ship was massive, bigger than an aircraft carrier but designed to fly through space. It carried weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology. Nick was proud of what they had built in such a short time. Dr. Beth Parker worked in a different kind of laboratory. She studied alien biology using tissue samples that had been left behind during the harvest. What she found changed everything humans thought they knew about their enemies. "They're not naturally strong," Beth told the military leaders. "Their power comes from their technology, not their bodies. Without their machines, they're actually quite weak." Beth's research revealed that the aliens had evolved on a world with low gravity and thin air. They needed special suits to survive on most planets. Their bones were hollow like bird bones, and their muscles were not very strong. They relied completely on their advanced technology. "If we can disable their technology, we can beat them in hand-to-hand combat," Beth explained. "They probably haven't had a real physical fight in thousands of years." Inside the alien ship, the resistance was growing stronger every day. Helen Brooks had become a leader among the prisoners. She organized secret meetings and helped people stay hopeful. But it was Tony Adams who planned their escape attempts. "We've mapped most of the ship," Tony told his inner circle of rebels. "There are weak points in their security. Guards change shifts at regular times, and thanks to Maya, we know how their systems work." Maya Johnson had become expert at hacking alien computers. She could turn lights on and off, open and close doors, and even access the ship's communication systems. But her biggest discovery was finding other human prisoners from different parts of Earth. "They've been taking people for longer than we thought," Maya whispered to Alex Turner. "There are humans here who were taken from remote areas years ago, small groups that nobody missed." Alex had trained hundreds of prisoners in combat techniques. Using pieces of alien equipment, he had made weapons and tools. The aliens had no idea that their prisoners were preparing for war. "When the time comes, we'll be ready," Alex told his students. "We know this ship better than they do now." On Earth, Admiral Kate Stevens prepared for humanity's first space battle. She had been a Navy officer for 20 years, but commanding a spaceship was completely new. The UES Vengeance was ready for its first mission, and Kate would be its captain. "Our job is simple," Kate told her crew. "Find their ships, hit them hard, and show them that humans fight back." The crew of the Vengeance was made up of the best soldiers, pilots, and engineers from every country on Earth. They had trained for months using simulators that recreated space combat. But everyone knew that the real thing would be much more dangerous. Dr. Amy Richardson had finally cracked the alien language. Her breakthrough came when she realized that their communication was partially telepathic. The aliens could share thoughts directly, which made their spoken language much simpler than human languages. "I can understand about 60% of their transmissions now," Amy reported to General Cole. "And what I'm hearing is interesting. They're confused about why we haven't surrendered yet." The alien messages revealed that every other species they had harvested had given up quickly. Most civilizations offered tribute and begged for mercy after losing just one city. The Zephyrian Empire had never faced organized resistance before. Commander Vextar was indeed confused. He stood on his ship's bridge reading reports from across the galaxy. Other Zephyrian commanders reported strange behavior from the humans. Instead of surrendering, they seemed to be preparing for war. "How can such a primitive species think it can fight us?" Vextar asked his second-in-command. "We have controlled the galaxy for 10,000 years. But Vextar was beginning to worry. His scouts reported that Earth's military technology was advancing incredibly fast. The humans were learning from captured alien equipment and building weapons that shouldn't have been possible for such a young civilization. The first battle came sooner than anyone expected. A Zephyrian scout ship approached Earth to observe human preparations. The UES Vengeance was waiting for it. Admiral Kate Stevens gave the order to attack. "All weapons, fire." The human ship's weapons were a mix of alien energy beams and human missiles. The combination caught the alien scout ship completely by surprise. The scout shields, which had protected it from thousands of different alien weapons, could not handle the unpredictable mixture of human and alien technology. Scout ship tried to run, but the Vengeance was faster. Within minutes, the first alien ship was destroyed by human forces. The wreckage fell into Earth's atmosphere like a meteor. News of the victory spread around the world in hours. For the first time since Denver was taken, people celebrated. Humanity had fought back and won, but the victory had consequences. Commander Vextar realized that the humans were more dangerous than he had thought. He sent a message to the Zephyrian High Command requesting more ships and weapons. Inside the prison ship, Maya intercepted Vextar's message. She immediately sent word to Earth warning them that a larger alien force was coming. But she also sent something else: detailed plans of the ship and information about alien weaknesses that Alex Turner had discovered. "They're scared," Maya told Tony Adams. "The message said they need backup to deal with an unexpectedly aggressive species. We're making them nervous." Tony smiled grimly. "Good. Nervous enemies make mistakes." The resistance inside the ship began, preparing for their biggest operation yet. Alex Turner had identified a way to reach the ship's engine room. If they could disable the engines, the ship would be stuck in space where Earth's forces could attack it. Dr. Beth Parker's research had revealed another important weakness. The aliens breathed a different mixture of gases than humans. If the ship's atmosphere system was damaged, the aliens would have trouble breathing while humans would be fine for several hours. As Earth prepared for the larger battle to come, General Marcus Cole realized that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt and improvise. The aliens had better technology, but humans had something more important: the willingness to try anything to survive. They think like machines, Marcus told his staff. They follow patterns and procedures. But humans think like chaos. We do. Unexpected things. That's going to be their downfall. The war was just beginning, but already the balance was shifting. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology, but they had never faced a species that refused to be conquered. They were about to learn why humans had survived every challenge their dangerous planet had ever thrown at them. The Zephyrian reinforcement fleet arrived at Earth 3 weeks later. Commander Vextar expected to find a broken, surrendering species. Instead, he found a planet bristling with weapons and a space force ready for battle. Captain Luke Davis commanded a squadron of human fighters based on the moon. His ships were small and fast, built using lessons learned from the first alien encounter. When the Zephyrian fleet approached Earth, Luke's fighters struck first. Remember, they expect us to fight like every other species they've conquered, Luke told his pilots over the radio. So let's do things they've never seen before. The human fighters attacked in patterns that made no sense to alien commanders. Instead of flying in neat formations, they scattered in all directions like a swarm of angry bees. They used the moon's gravity to slingshot around and attack from unexpected angles. The alien ships had shields designed to stop energy weapons coming from predictable directions. But the human fighters attacked from above, below, and all sides, at once. Some pilots even crashed their ships into alien vessels, sacrificing themselves to save others. Vextar watched in shock as his supposedly superior fleet struggled against the chaotic human tactics. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his bridge. "They should not be able to coordinate such complex attacks." What Vextar did not understand was that humans had been practicing these tactics for months. Every pilot was trained to think independently and adapt quickly to changing situations. While alien commanders waited for orders from above, human pilots made decisions in seconds. Engineer Sam Rodriguez had been working on a special project in secret. He had designed weapons that could turn alien technology against itself. When Zephyrian ships fired their energy beams, Sam's devices would capture that energy and send it right back at them. "It's like using their own punch against them," Sam explained to Colonel Nick Ryan. "The stronger they hit us, the stronger we hit them back." These reflection weapons were installed on every human ship and base. When the aliens discovered what was happening, they had to reduce their weapon power to avoid destroying themselves. This gave human forces the chance they needed to fight on equal terms. Dr. Emma Clark made the most important discovery of the war. While studying captured alien communication equipment, she found a fatal flaw in how the Zephyrian Empire controlled their forces. They use a centralized command system, Emma explained to General Marcus Cole. Every ship is controlled by signals from command centers. If we can disrupt those signals, their entire fleet becomes blind and deaf. Emma's team built devices that could jam alien communications. When these jammers were activated during battle, Zephyrian ships suddenly could not talk to each other or receive orders from their commanders. They flew around in confusion, while human forces picked them off one by one. Inside the prison ship, the resistance was ready to strike. Tony Adams had planned the operation carefully. While the aliens were distracted by the space battle, his people would take control of key areas of the ship. "We hit the engine room, the communication center, and the bridge all at the same time," Tony told his team leaders. "Alex takes the engine room. Maya handles communications. Helen leads the group that rescues the other prisoners." Maya Johnson had become so skilled at hacking alien systems that she could control entire sections of the ship. She had secretly unlocked doors, disabled security cameras, and even reprogrammed guard robots to ignore human prisoners. "When I give the signal, every door in the prison areas will open," Maya told the resistance fighters. "You'll have maybe 10 minutes before they realize what's happening." Alex Turner led a team of former soldiers and police officers toward the engine room. They had made weapons from alien technology and trained for months in zero-gravity combat. The alien guards had no idea what was coming. The battle for the ship began when Maya shut down the lights. In the darkness, human prisoners who had memorized the ship's layout moved through corridors while alien guards stumbled around blindly. Alex's team reached the engine room and overwhelmed the few aliens guarding it. "Engines are down," Alex reported over their improvised communication system. "This ship isn't going anywhere." Helen Brooks led hundreds of prisoners to safety while Tony Adams fought his way toward the bridge. The aliens finally realized they were under attack, but it was too late. Humans were everywhere in the ship, and they knew the layout better than the original builders. Commander Vextar tried to regain control of his ship, but his communications were jammed and his engines were disabled. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he had never experienced before: fear. In space around Earth, the tide of battle was turning. Admiral Kate Stevens commanded a growing fleet of human ships that fought with tactics the aliens had never encountered. Human pilots took risks that seemed insane but somehow worked. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Torres led a special mission to capture an intact alien command ship. His team used small, fast ships to get close to the enemy vessel, then cut through its hull with tools designed by Sam Rodriguez. "We're inside their command center," Ryan reported. "Beginning data download now." The information Ryan's team captured revealed the locations of other Zephyrian fleets throughout the galaxy. More importantly, it showed the locations of other, harvested worlds where billions of beings lived as slaves. News of human victories spread throughout the galaxy, faster than the Zephyrians could stop it. On worlds that had been conquered centuries ago, slaves began to whisper about the species that had fought back. Some began to plan their own rebellions. Commander Lisa Morgan had been a military advisor before the war. Now she commanded a joint, human-alien force made up of freed slaves from a dozen different worlds. These beings had joined human forces because they wanted revenge against their former masters. "The Zephyrians told us we were weak," Lisa said to her diverse crew. "Let's show them what the weak can do when they work together." Dr. Emma Clark's communication jammers proved to be the key to winning larger battles. When Zephyrian fleets lost the ability to coordinate, they fought like individual ships instead of organized forces. Human commanders like Joey Kim, a former Air Force tactical officer, could defeat enemy groups that were much larger than their own forces. The psychological impact on the Zephyrian Empire was enormous. For 10,000 years, they had been the undisputed masters of the galaxy. No species had ever successfully resisted them. Now reports came in daily of human victories and alien defeats. Some Zephyrian commanders began to retreat from human space, without orders. Others surrendered entire fleets rather than face human forces in battle. The empire that had seemed invincible was beginning to crack. Back on the captured prison ship, Tony Adams finally reached the bridge. Commander Vextar stood alone, his crew either captured or fled. The alien commander looked at the human who had taken his ship and saw something in Tony's eyes that terrified him. "You cannot defeat the entire empire," Vextar said desperately. "We control thousands of worlds." Tony Adams smiled grimly. "Not anymore. You made one big mistake. You took our people, and humans never abandon their own." The liberation of the prison ship was complete. 700,000 humans were finally free, and they brought with them detailed information about Zephyrian technology, tactics, and weaknesses. But more than that, they brought proof that the mighty alien empire could be beaten. Earth's military forces grew stronger every day. New ships launched from shipyards that worked around the clock. Weapons that combined human innovation with alien technology gave human forces advantages the Zephyrians could not match. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's most dangerous trait was not their technology or their tactics. It was their absolute refusal to give up, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled through fear for millennia. Now they were the ones who were afraid. The final phase of the war began 2 years after Denver was taken. Earth now commanded a vast fleet of ships crewed by humans and freed aliens from dozens of worlds. The time had come for Operation Retribution, the assault on the Zephyrian home. Worldsnaut Fleet Commander Ashley Stone stood on the bridge of the flagship UES Liberation. Around her, displays showed the positions of over 3,000 human and allied ships. It was the largest space fleet ever assembled, and its destination was the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. "All ships report ready," announced her communications officer. Ashley had been promoted from captain to fleet commander after winning 17 major battles against alien forces. She was known throughout the galaxy as the human who had never lost a fight. "Begin the jump to Zephyr Prime," Ashley ordered. Time to end this war. The journey to the Zephyrian homeworld took 3 weeks through hyperspace routes that had been secret for thousands of years. Maya Johnson, now a senior intelligence officer, had extracted these navigation codes from captured alien computers. Special Forces operative Danny Clark led a team of infiltrators who had arrived at Zephyr Prime weeks earlier. Using stolen alien technology, they looked like Zephyrians and moved freely through the capital city. Their mission was to disable the planet's defenses from the inside. "The orbital defense platforms are controlled from the central command tower," Danny reported to the fleet. "My team is in position to take it down when the attack begins." Colonel Maya Patel had become one of humanity's greatest tactical minds. She studied the Zephyrian Empire's command structure and found its greatest weakness. The aliens had never learned to fight without overwhelming technological advantages. "They've been bullies for so long that they forgot how to really fight," Maya explained to the other commanders. "When we take away their technological edge, they fall apart." The battle for Zephyr Prime began at dawn on the alien world. Human ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, catching the Zephyrian home fleet completely off guard. The aliens had expected humanity to attack their outer colonies first, not strike directly at their capital. Sergeant Chris Brown led the ground assault on the planet's surface. His troops used drop pods that could punch through planetary shields and deliver soldiers directly into enemy cities. It was dangerous and crazy, but that was exactly why it worked. "Remember, they're not used to fighting on the ground," Chris told his soldiers as they prepared to drop. "Most of them have probably never been in a real fight in their entire lives." The Zephyrian defenders tried to use their standard tactics, overwhelming firepower from defensive positions. But human soldiers did not fight like any enemy they had faced before. Instead of attacking in neat lines, they moved like ghosts through the alien city. Human troops used buildings, underground tunnels, and even the city's own infrastructure as weapons. They turned the aliens' own technology against them and fought with a creativity that the Empire's forces could not match. In space, the battle was equally chaotic. Admiral Kate Stevens commanded the main fleet while smaller groups led by officers, like Captain Luke Davis, struck at supply lines and communication centers. The aliens found themselves fighting on a dozen fronts at once. Dr. Emma Clark's communication jammers had been improved and now could shut down entire planetary defense networks. When the jammers activated, Zephyrian ships suddenly could not coordinate their attacks or call for reinforcements. Commander Vex Tar, who had escaped from his captured ship months earlier, tried to organize the defense of his home world. But everywhere he looked, he saw defeat. Human forces were inside the capital city, the orbital defenses were offline, and his fleet was being destroyed ship by ship. "How is this possible?" Vexitar demanded from his emergency command center. "They are just one primitive world. We control thousands of star systems." But that control was crumbling. On worlds throughout the galaxy, news of the attack on Zephyr Prime sparked massive rebellions. Species that had been enslaved for centuries rose up against their Zephyrian masters. The empire that had taken 1,000 years to build was falling apart in a matter of months. Tony Adams, now a general in the human forces, led the assault on the Zephyrian High Command building. The same man who had been police chief of Denver was now fighting to free an entire galaxy. His soldiers moved through the building floor by floor, capturing alien leaders who had never expected to face human warriors. Danny Clark's infiltration team succeeded in taking down the orbital defense platforms. Massive weapons that had protected Zephyr Prime for millennia went silent one by one. Human ships could now attack the planet's surface without fear of retaliation. The turning point came when Maya Patel executed a brilliant tactical maneuver. She had noticed that Zephyrian commanders always tried to protect their command ships above everything else, so she made it look like the human fleet was in retreat, drawing the alien command vessels forward into a trap. "All ships, Execute hammer. Fall, Maya ordered. Hundreds of human ships that had been hiding behind the planet's moons suddenly appeared and surrounded the Zephyrian command fleet. In minutes, the aliens lost their entire leadership structure. Without commanders to give them orders, Zephyrian forces began to surrender or flee. The highly organized empire suddenly became a collection of confused individual ships and soldiers who did not know what to do. Lisa Grant, the former mayor of Denver, stood in the ruins of the Zephyrian Capitol building. She had volunteered for the assault force because she wanted to personally confront the beings who had taken her city. Now she looked out over a burning alien city and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. "It's over," she said into her communicator. "The Zephyrian government has surrendered unconditionally." The war that had started with the harvest of one human city ended with the liberation of thousands of alien worlds. The Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 10 millennia, ceased to exist in less than 3 years. Commander Vexitar was brought before human leaders as a prisoner. The alien who had once viewed humans as primitive animals now stood in chains before beings he had learned to fear. General Marcus Cole, the man who had organized Earth's defense, looked down at the defeated alien commander. "You made a mistake," Marcus told Vexitar. "You thought we were weak because we were young. But youth means we still remember how to fight for what matters to us." The aftermath of the war transformed the galaxy. Humans established a new government that included representatives from every freed world. Instead of an empire built on conquest, they created an alliance built on cooperation and mutual defense. Dr. Amy Richardson, who had first detected the alien signals, became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. The same woman who had warned Earth about the harvest now helped write treaties that would prevent such tragedies from ever happening again. The people of Denver returned to Earth as heroes. They had survived almost 3 years as prisoners, then helped destroy the empire that had captured them. Their city was rebuilt, but now it included monuments to the war and memorials to those who had died fighting for freedom. Helen Brooks returned to work as a nurse, but now she treated patients from dozens of different worlds. Alex Turner became a trainer for the new Galactic Defense Force. Maya Johnson continued her work as a computer expert, but now she helped design systems to protect the galaxy from future threats. The final ceremony took place on Earth, in the rebuilt city of Denver. Lisa Grant, once again mayor, gave a speech to representatives from across the galaxy. But this time, instead of opening a community center, she was dedicating a memorial to all those who had fought for freedom. "We learned something important during this war," Lisa said to the assembled crowd of humans and aliens. "No one is too small to make a difference. No one is too weak to fight back. And no one should ever have to face tyranny alone." The galaxy was finally free. The empire that had seemed invincible was gone, replaced by a community of worlds working together. And at the center of it all was a small blue planet whose people had refused to give up, even when the odds seemed impossible. Earth had gone from victim to liberator in just 3 years. The species that had once been seen as primitive animals were now the guardians of galactic freedom. They had proven that sometimes the smallest spark can light the biggest fire. The harvest of Denver had been meant to show humanity its place in the universe. Instead, it had shown the universe what humans could accomplish when they refused to surrender. The stars would never be the same.